What's up, my children? Gather around me, and I, Genevieve Intong, will tell you a story. It's a story of bravery, valor, and adventure, with fascinating people and brutal fights. It's a narrative about goodness, balance, and justice. Rama's story is told here. It all begins in Ayodhya, the city of jewels. Nobody was hungry or destitute in this city. Every woman was faithful to her husband. Everyone knew their place in society. Everyone knew the Vedas. And everyone was happy. The heroic adventure of Rama officially began at this moment. So the story is entitled Ramayana. The peerage was split among the great king's three significant women, and four boys were born to them. Rama, the eldest, was born to Kausalya, Bharata to Kakeyi, and Lakshmana to Sumitra. They were all skilled warriors who had been educated politics and history as well as the Vedas. When Rama was only adolescent, the great sage Visvamitra came to the king's court and made a request. King Dasaratha, I intend to take your eldest son Rama to the jungle to destroy the demons who are bothering us. Rama was the king's favorite son, and the king tried unsuccessfully to bargain with the holy man. Because Rama and Lakshmana could not bear to be separated, they both immediately left for the forest. Visvamitra led them into the forest and to Tataka, the horrible demon. Her appearance was terrible, and she was gigantic. A human skull hung around her neck. She hurled massive rock at them while hovering above them and morphing into different shapes. We must not under her, Rama said, since she is a woman and it would be wrong to kill a woman. But Tataka refused to give up. So Lakshmana pierced her heart with a single arrow, and the gods praised them. When the threesome arrived at the sage's ashram, Visvamitra said, You have done well, sons of Dasaratha. As a reward for your valor, I present you with these weapons. And he handed Rama and Lakshmana superhuman weapons with incredible powers, all of which were gold in hue. There was a quiver with an infinite number of arrows capable of destroying entire armies, and bows so formidable that one could only imagine their power and strength. Visvamitra enlightened Rama and his brother on their next job. Now that they had these weapons of endless power, you must stand attentive for 6 days and 7 nights, guarding a sacrifice from demons. So the brothers keep an eye on the sage's sacrifice and guarded it. There were no demons. However, hundreds of demons swooped down on the 6th day, which was the most crucial portion of the ceremony, hurling dead flesh and spitting blood. Lakshmana and Rama aimed their arrows and let them fly. Every arrow hits its target, and so long every single monster was annihilated. The brothers and the sage left the jungle to travel to Mithila after completing the gruesome assignment. The city's king wielded the bow of Shiva, a powerful bow that had been left in the city many ages before. Sita was the name of the king's daughter. Sita was created by Mother Nature and possesses all of the characteristics of a perfect woman and wife. She was lovely, compassionate, and loving with a golden heart. A prince or king had to hoist Shiva's big bow and string it in order to earn Sita's hand in marriage, but no one could do it. Lakshmana persuaded Rama to try his chances after seeing everyone else fail. A light seemed to glimmer from Rama, and he reached the bow. He took the big bow in one hand, lifted it effortlessly, and strung it. When he tried to pull the bow, however, it broke with a thunderclap. In fact, the noise was so loud that everyone except the most powerful could hear it. It rendered men incomprehensible, and to Rama's delight, Sita appears, walked forward and placed a lotus garland around his neck, indicating that she had accepted his marriage proposal. They married and returned to Ayodhya. King Dasaratha realized he was getting old and planned to hand the throne over to Rama, his favorite and oldest son. When the city's residents received the news, they were overjoyed because they all adored Rama. But Kaikeyi's maidservant, Mantara, persuaded her that her son, Bharata, would be better off as a king. My husband, remember when I saved your life on the battlefield so many years ago? And do you remember that you awarded me with 2 bonds at the time? Kaikeyi replied angrily to Dasaratha, "It's now or never for you to keep your word. Rama should be exiled for 14 years and forced to live as a hermit, and Bharata should be crowned king." "Oh woman, have you no heart?" Dasaratha asked anxiously to respond to her poisonous comments. "Please don't ask anything else." But she refused, and the king was forced to keep his word. He quickly left to the forest, escorted by his ever-faithful brother, Lakshmana, and his wife, Sita, to honor his father's desire. When the news of kingship and Rama's exile reached Bharata, he was in his uncle's court. When he arrived to Ayodhya, he discovered that his father, King Dasaratha, had died of heart failure. He refused to profit from his mother's nefarious schemes and marched into the forest with a massive army and a firm determination to restore his brother to the throne. When Lakshmana heard 1,000 horses and 1,000,000 footmen thundering and saw the Ayodhya flag, he tried to persuade Rama that Bharata was coming to kill them and that they need to eliminate the army. Rama, on the other hand, calmed him down and chose to speak with Bharata. When Rama and Bharata finally met, they hugged and Bharata made his appeal. "Won't you return to Ayodhya to rule? My beloved brother, the people need you." Rama, on the other hand, wanted to keep his father's blessings, so he persuaded Bharata that he needed to stay in the jungle. Bharata then seized Rama's sandals and placed them on the throne. vowing not to enter Ayodhya until Rama returned. In a little village outside of Ayodhya, Bharata governed in Rama's name. As a result, Rama and his devoted family members traveled through the magnificent Dandaka forest. They discovered a beautiful area along a creek with plenty of wildlife. They constructed a cabin and lived peacefully for 10 years. Supernaka, the dreadful monster, was passing through the forest one day when she came across Rama. "I'd like to have that man for my husband," she thought as she gazed at his attractive form. So she disguised herself as a lovely lady and attempted to entice Rama. Rama, however, was able to see through his disguise and brought her before Lakshmana. Lakshmana was so enraged at the prospect of his brother marrying a demon that he chopped off Supernaka's ear and nose with 3 quick arrows. This terrifying demon woman fled to her brother, King Ravana of Lanka. He became enraged when he learned of her condition and dispatched a force of 14,000 Rakshasas to destroy Rama. In addition, Supernaka informed Ravana of Sita's amazing beauty, and the demon king immediately wished her to be his wife. Meanwhile, the army of demons was approaching Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita's residence. With bows in hand, Rama and Lakshmana were ready for the assault. The devils were attacking. Whistling arrows and terrifying shouts filled the air. But in the end, Rama slaughtered all of Ravana's Rakshasas. Ravana headed out with his uncle Marika to abduct Sita, fulfilling his dream and following his desires rather than his brain, as all Rakshasas do. Marika helped him transform into a golden deer. The deer, as Ravana had predicted, piqued Sita's interest, and she begged Rama to capture it. Rama gladly obliged his wife, but only after giving Lakshmana strict orders to protect Sita. As Rama approached the deer, he realized it was a demon, and just before Rama killed it, the animal said in Rama's voice, "Sita, help me." When Lakshmana and the Sita heard these words, Sita persuaded Lakshmana to go help Rama. But first, he drew a protective circle around Sita's cottage and commanded her to stay within it. Ravana transformed himself into the likeness of an ascetic and implored Sita after Lakshmana had left. Sita excited the circle because an ascetic could not enter a woman's home, and Ravana instantly transformed into a demon and dragged her away. Meanwhile, while Lakshmana tracked down Rama in the wilderness, where they learned that someone had attempted to entice them away from Sita. When they discovered Sita had been kidnapped, Rama was heartbroken and trying to find out where Sita had gone. Finally, he ran into some monkeys that Sita had seen and to whom she had given her jewelry. Sugriva, the monkey's king, dispatched search parties in every direction after they promised to assess them. One of the search groups included Hanuman, a powerful monkey who can accomplish the unthinkable. They were told that Sita was 300 kilometers away when they arrived at the ocean. Hanuman, ever loyal to Rama, thereafter made the journey to Lanka. He found Sita in Lanka and promised to take her to Rama. But Sita refused to allow anyone else touch her save Rama. Hanuman was also given a ring by Sita to give to Rama. As Hanuman attempted to flee, the Rakshasas apprehended him and put his tail on fire. Hanuman leaped from home to house, setting fire to all of Lanka except the forest where Sita was hiding. He then returned to Rama to report. Hanuman informed Rama of the good news and presented him with the ring when he returned. Rama set out with his monkey army to attack Lanka after learning this news. When they reached the vast ocean, the monkey army constructed a massive bridge to Lanka. Both sides were prepared for war when they arrived in Lanka. Monkeys and bears faced off against demons and other horrible creatures. There were pain cries, shouts, screams, and devil's blood-curdling chuckle. The ground was saturated in blood, and the air was full with arrows. Rama looked for Ravana in the middle of this awful mayhem. A light seemed to shine on Rama's as they met. While the clouds darkened around Ravana's head, Ravana charged, but Rama deflected it with his sword and parried it. They fought for hours until Rama pierced Ravana's heart with his heavenly bow. At the same time, the monkeys defeated the Rakshas's army. Ravana was properly buried by Rama and his warriors, since, as Rama wisely stated it, hostility ends at death. The people questioned Sita's virginity because she had been in the house of another guy. She walked into a blazing pyre to show her purity. Her devotion to Rama was demonstrated by her survival. Rama was crowned king and ruled in peace for many years after Lakshmana and Sita returned to Ayodhya hundreds of years.